Hey guys, just wanted to say that I miss you guys so much, for all my students out there, and that I'm going to do the next project that's based off of a request from Zoe. So Zoe wanted to do landscapes, and that's what we're gonna do today. So we're gonna draw some and then paint with whatever you have, or color, doesn't matter what you want. I'm using materials that I'm finding around my house because I'm running low on canvases, because I'm using them all. So I can't wait for you guys to do this project with me, and I hope that you're doing other ones as well. It's just like a sport, practice every day, and don't forget, there's so many drawing challenges out there that you can do every single day. So check it out and show me some new stuff if you find other challenges out there. Alrighty, today we are doing some landscape drawing and either painting or coloring, depending on what you want to do. So we're gonna start with whatever material you want. I have this extra piece of cardboard because I wanna paint and I want something thicker to paint on. We're gonna start with our pencil, and we're going to do a horizon line to start. So for our landscape, I was thinking of doing maybe some mountains and a river that comes to the foreground up here, and then maybe some trees. We're gonna Bob Ross this stuff. So I'm gonna start, there's a rule of thirds. You wanna start not with the horizon line right in the middle, but either right above or right below. So I'm gonna start it up here and draw it across. And it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start in my background and then work my way up. So I'm gonna do some mountains, and they don't have to be perfect. And I love to hike, so I love looking at the mountains. But if you don't want mountains in yours, you can do really whatever you like. You do a sunset. So I got some mountains, and then I'm going to do maybe a river that kind of starts at the point of the bottom of the mountain here. And I'm gonna do like a big S shape. So when you're doing this, you still have to think about perspective. So that means everything up here is gonna be what's closest to you, and this is all in the background. This is the furthest away. So when we do stuff closer to the horizon line, it's gonna get smaller, and when you come closer to the bottom of the paper, it's gonna get larger. So we're gonna do this S shape again, but it's gonna start off really small, and it's gonna get wider and wider. So this could either be a river, or it could be a path. So I think I'm gonna make mine into a river, but we don't have to worry about details just yet. Next, I think I'm gonna do some trees. So I'm gonna start with one in the front. It's gonna overlap the mountains because it's in the front. And I'm not worrying too much about the details. I will draw a bush-like shape around it for the top of the tree, but for right now, I'm just gonna leave it because I can do all the details with my paint later on. So there's my tree. And then if I want another one back here in the distance, so this is gonna be in between those two sizes. So I have my 3 trees, and if you want to add more, go for it. I'm also going to add some little blades of grass and maybe some other things that grow next to the river. So the ones in the front are going to be really big because you're going to see them more. And then, oh, they're called cattails. Stuff like that. And I can also draw some rocks. And I think I'm gonna do one more layer of mountains in the background that's even further. So they're gonna be just slight hill shapes. All right, so I can either use paint or colored pencils or really whatever I want. I have these awesome oil pastels that are actually water soluble. So that means after you use them, you add water and they kind of work like paint. So I'm gonna try out these and see how they work. And if you guys have stuff like this, you can even use markers and add water to them. So when you start with your painting, you can start from the back and work your way forward. So I'm gonna start with my sky and I'm gonna do a sunset. So I'm gonna start with yellow. All right, so I got my water and my brush and I'm gonna start with the lightest color and work my way up. And the colors actually end up blending together. So if you're doing just regular acrylic paint, start with your yellow and paint it in and then move on to your orange. And if you go into your mountains a little, don't worry because we're gonna go over those too in just a second. So acrylic painting is not the same as watercolor because you can work right next to it. It might get into it a little bit, but it's not gonna soak all the way into the color that you already painted. So the next color I wanna do is, I think I'm gonna do a purple. I don't actually have purple with these, so I'm gonna make one. So I'm gonna do a dark blue and then add some red to it. All right, so you can kind of see how I'm not being perfect with how I color these in with these oil pastels, these water soluble oil pastels. So don't worry about how great that looks when you first start coloring. It's really about when you start painting. So since I want these two to mix, I'm gonna start in the middle, and then when I get to the edge, I'm gonna make sure I'm very careful because I want that nice edge of the mountain to show. Awesome. So since I already have this dark color on my brush, I'm gonna take that and actually use that to bring up my horizon line. And mountains have all those really dark creases in it, so you can start to pull them out within your mountain, and you can keep the top white if you wanna have it snowy too. So then I have my bigger, closer mountains that are lighter. So next we're gonna do the ground, and I'm going to start with a darker green in the background and then work my way to be a lighter green. So I'm overlapping the light green onto the dark green just a little bit before I start going down further. And then finally, I'm gonna add a little yellow to the front to make it super light. All right, so before we start doing this, I want you guys to think about which area should we start at, the bottom or the top? We always want to start with the lighter color when we're blending, so we're gonna start from the bottom. And I hope you noticed that I covered up the trees because I'm not too worried about them right now, but I can still see them. If you are painting with acrylic paint, I would maybe go around at least the trunk, and then you can kind of work with the branches later. So we're gonna start with the light green Interesting. So this dark green for some reason isn't blending as well as I was hoping. So I'm gonna try to add some more in there while it's still a little wet and see if I can blend it more. And these oil pastels, you can actually dip the tip of it into the water and sometimes use that as like a paintbrush too. So next we can actually do the river, and we're gonna start it off dark up here. I'm gonna do some little streaks. And I like to make the edges a little darker. And then I'm gonna add my light blue. And finally, I have some rocks. If you don't have gray, start with some white and put that down first, and then add a tiny bit of black to it. If you start with black, you're most likely gonna make it darker than you want it because black is a very strong color. So I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of black in here. So in order to make your green a bit darker than that green, you can actually add a little orange to it. I have this Tuscany color, so I'm gonna add a little bit of that to it. Some flowers on your tree or some leaves, you can go back in, maybe some light green leaves to stand out on the dark background, or even some type of dogwood tree that has those pink flowers on it. So overlap your branches a little bit here and there. All right, so you can go ahead and add more details if you want. I think I'm gonna stop here for today. Come up with your own types of trees or mountains and colors and just have fun with this. So I'll see you guys next time.